Hello folks and welcome to Paddock Pass, your post-qualifying edition for the 2019 Russian Grand Prix here in Sochi, where the weather forecast said rain for qualifying. Instead, we got sun and a dry session. It was a thriller as well, really exciting, where everybody was wondering, could Ferrari make it 4 pole positions in a row? More importantly, could Charles Leclerc make it 4 pole positions in a row and become the first Ferrari driver to do that since a certain Michael Schumacher in 2001. While all eyes were on that, they were also on home hero Danny Kvyat, who was always going to have a difficult weekend given that all the Honda runners were running new power units. They would all take penalties, and we knew that coming into qualifying. For Kvyat, though, doubled the grief, doubled the agony. He changed power unit between yesterday and today because he had so many problems with his new unit. Had problems again, though, in FP3, didn't even make it into qualifying. So we only had 19 drivers going into Q1. And so into Q1 with those 19 drivers, and the first to drop out was another one of the drivers with a Honda power unit grid penalty this weekend, Alex Albon. He had struggled throughout to look competitive throughout and crashed, lost the rear of his car into the final sector. A small mistake, but a big end result as he rear-ended it into the barriers. Session was red flagged. Alex was out. P18 for Robert Kubica in the Williams. Always going to be a difficult weekend for the Williams, and so it proved for Robert. Just not been happy with his car. Had a few spins in quali. Really not happy with the setup of his car all the way through the weekend. He ended up 1.1 seconds behind George Russell, who again was furious with the team for sending him out in traffic, not making his life any easier in terms of the tyre warm-up, just as he had been in Singapore 1 week ago. But as we've said, made a good time of it and finished 1.1 seconds ahead of his teammate and just half a second behind Kimi Räikkönen, who qualified 16th after a difficult weekend. He made a mistake going onto the back straight, which meant that he didn't get the speed down there that he needed and ultimately lost out from making it through into Q2. Let's talk though to 2 of the Honda drivers then today who would be disappointed going out. Danny Kvyat at his home race and Alex Albon, who brought out the red flag. Danny, not where you wanted to be on a Saturday afternoon. How disappointing's this weekend been?
It hasn't been very smooth so far, but the most important day of the weekend is tomorrow. We knew we were gonna start from last row, and shame still to miss qualifying on my home race, but we'll try to do a good and strong race tomorrow. There's still a chance to save this weekend.
Is it the same issue that's affected you all the way through the weekend, or is it too early to tell?
It's too early to tell, but I think I don't think it can be exactly the same issue. I think they're a bit different, but these things happen. So we need to also remember that we had very little issues this year so far.
Difficult weekend all the way through, and ultimately in quali, small mistake, but big end result.
Annoying. Started quite tough in FP1 and FP2, but then started to become stronger, and my quality, to be honest, I felt pretty good with the car. I bought the first lap with, I think it was a Williams, and then for that final push, just went in a little bit too hot and lost the rear. There's been a tailwind there, and just went in too deep, to be honest.
So those are your drivers not making it through, the 2 Honda-backed drivers. You've got Danny Kvyat, P20, Albon, P19, then Kubica, Russell and Kimi Räikkönen, which took us through to Q2. Q2 then, and in P15, Lance Stroll made a mistake. Turn 7, got the rear snap on, and interestingly, it's exactly the same thing that beset Sergio Perez, who finished P12. Perez felt he could have been in Q3. Stroll just wanted to make up a few positions, but both of them lost the rear snap on entry to turn 7. So disappointed with that. They both felt the car had more in it. P14, Kevin Magnussen changed the setup of his car overnight to have more of the old parts put on it, more in line with the car that Romain Grosjean had. Looked good in FP3, didn't get the most out of it in this session though, was thoroughly annoyed. Dropped a couple of expletives when talking to us. Didn't really want to talk about the setup of the car, says he's sick of talking about it. Not a very happy chappy. P13, Antonio Giovinazzi, going to talk to him on the back of a great couple of races in which he scored points. He says he had almost perfect laps. We'll hear from him in a second. P11 for Pierre Gasly. We thought the perfect place for him, given that he had the penalty anyway. Did he really want to go through to Q3? Have to use the tyres that he qualified on in Q2. He said, look, we weren't playing games today. We couldn't afford to play games. We wanted to get as far up as we could, just to try and make up a few more positions with this penalty. They couldn't qualify P11, start P16, so Giovinazzi and all those guys will move up one place as well. We will talk to Antonio Giovinazzi. As we've said, 2 races in a row now, he's been the lead Alfa Romeo driver and will start tomorrow's race again as the lead Alfa Romeo driver from P12. A tough weekend for you guys so far, but a really great job today.
Yeah, I think we expected a little bit better and more easy, especially to go to Q3. But in the end, I did almost a perfect lap and didn't happen. So we need to focus now on tomorrow. We have the possibility again to choose the tires, and we will start P12. So still, I think the weekend is not yet over. We need to find a good strategy for tomorrow, and I think we will try to get some points also tomorrow.
So P15 for Stroll, 14 Magnussen, 13 Giovinazzi, 12 Perez, 11 Gasly, but with that drop for Gasly, everybody else moves up a place. Interestingly, during that session, as we know, the drivers that get through to Q3 have to start the race on the tyres they ran in Q2. Mercedes got through on the mediums. Ferrari and Verstappen went through on the soft. So, different strategies already in play for the race as we got through to Q3. Into Q3, the battle between Renault and McLaren that's been raging recently for 4th in the Constructors raged once again, and it was all covered by 0.4 of a second, but getting himself into the mix, couldn't quite repeat what he'd done in Q2, which was a P6, but Romain Grosjean did get himself very much into the mix and was in P9. He said he dared to dream he could have got that P6, but P9 was good enough for him, and he will start just ahead of Daniel Ricciardo, who actually said he felt lucky to even make it into Q3. We're going to hear from him about exactly why in a few moments. P8, Lando Norris, we're also going to hear from him in that battle between the Renaults and the McLarens. P7, Nico Hülkenberg, really happy. It's one of those weekends he said he's just clicked with the car and feels really good in it. Carlos Sainz, again, also incredibly happy. They made changes to the car overnight after a tough weekend, but utterly delighted with P6. Valtteri Bottas, 5th, not happy. This is his track. He loves this place and has such a flow, such a rhythm for it. Couldn't find it. He's a second off pole. 4th place for Max Verstappen. It was looking like he was going to be top 3 until Lewis Hamilton pulled out an incredible lap right at the end, which we'll hear from him and about very soon. But yeah, he's got a penalty. He'll be starting further back anyway. Hopes he can make his way back up with a bit of a fight in the race to 5th place on Sunday. We're going to hear, though, as we said, from Daniel Ricciardo, P10, and from Lando Norris, P8. They weren't the 2 fastest drivers in their teams, but I think they had some interesting stuff to say after their qualifying. 4/10 cover all the Renault and McLaren drivers, but I know you're not going to be best pleased to not see yourself anywhere other than where you are.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the times. Yeah, I was. I don't know. I was not really that fast, I guess, this weekend. I don't really know why. I mean, obviously, you can blame the car and say, oh, it's a bit here, a bit there, but I think still I normally find a way to get at least closer to the pace. I think getting into Q3, I was happy because I wasn't probably a Q3 guy so far this weekend, just personally. I knew we could do it, but it was a bit of a stretch. So I was happy to get in there, but then I couldn't do anything at the end. I just had one set, but still I wasn't quick enough. So it's all right. It's quali. Obviously, I'd like to be faster, but try and make it happen in the race.
I was going to say you've got one day left to rectify it.
Exactly. Exactement. Otherwise, that's about it. Charles, what's he got? 4 poles in a row, smoked everyone. That's all right. I'll figure out a way to smoke the midfield, I guess.
It's tight. It's so tight. Only a couple of tenths between all you Mercedes. Mercedes?
Oh.
Well, not yet. Not yet. Give that a couple of years. McLaren and Renault guys.
Yes. From our I couldn't say that word earlier. Statistics. How do I say it?
Statistics.
You just say it for me. On
our
our
statistics.
Just
say data.
On our data. Yeah. So I want to sound more professional, From our data, it was going to be a very tough one. We made some really good improvements overnight, and between Carlos and myself, we were much happier, much more comfortable with the car. It was performing better, but P3 was one of the closest groups of the whole midfield pack. It almost been for the whole year. So we knew it was going to be tough going into quali. but because of the improvements we made and how consistent the car was and how much we could push, we were always able to put the lap together pretty much, not make any silly mistakes which would have put us out. So I'm happy because we struggled and we made good improvements. It's a good starting position for tomorrow. I just need to get past 1 or 2 cars, and then I'll be even happier. But as far as Saturdays goes, I can be pretty happy.
All of which takes us through to the top 3 on the day. And it was looking like it was going to be a Ferrari 1-2. Charles Leclerc has been in inspired form all weekend, and he was in similarly inspired form all the way through qualifying. Vettel was just there behind him in second place, but a phenomenal, and phenomenal is the right word, final sector from Lewis Hamilton just snatched that away. It was looking like it was going to be second row of the grid for Hamilton and Bottas. As it was, Lewis Hamilton straight up to P2. Charles Leclerc then on his 4th pole position in a row alongside Lewis Hamilton on the front row. Sebastian Vettel will start in 3rd place.
I think if you're 3rd here, it's probably not the worst place to be compared to maybe 3rd in Monaco. Yeah, obviously not entirely happy with today. I wasn't really on top of everything, especially closing the lap was getting a bit weaker. So struggled with that final sector. For tomorrow I'm quite confident. We have decent race pace. Obviously we're on a different strategy compared to Mercedes.
So they're on the yellows, you're on the softs.
Yeah, we will see who was right. What do you think?
I think you made a good choice.
Good. We think so too, but let's see what happens tomorrow.
It was looking for all the world like it was going to be second row, and then that final sector was just unbelievable.
I haven't seen it, but
it was something.
It was definitely very, very clean. And I tried something different in a certain corner, and compared to the previous lap, and it gained me. My delta went from being kind of level to then gaining a 10th and a half or 2, whatever it was. So it was something I was thinking of trying throughout the weekend, but I hadn't yet just gone and done it. And because this last sector was actually good, and I didn't want to lose position, and I didn't know on the lap where I was or what position I was fighting for, or whether my teammate's doing a better job and he's going to out-qualify me. So I was just trying to pull everything out, knowing that they are super fast on the straights, and really, really happy when I came across the line and then they said, "Oh, that's second." I'm like, "Oh my god, that's freaking awesome."
That was a good example that how happy you can be when you squeeze the maximum out of it and you're not on pole. That was a good example.
Yeah, I think it was really that. Look, there's a couple of things. There's one that you naturally always want to drive to your ability and maximize. And I really felt like I was able to do that today with the help of the team. All the team had worked so hard, and then also the team spirit is so important, And so, whilst it was like a natural thing for me to be that positive, I know that the team spirit is so important for us to maintain this rhythm and the fighting force into the season, even though we're not winning races right now. And I know back in the team they'll obviously be proud of the job we've done today, and hopefully I can convert that tomorrow.
4 in a row, and I know you've heard this statistic already. First Ferrari driver to do that since a certain Michael Schumacher. Just the 89 wins and 7 world titles to go, but
yeah, it's still very far apart for all the other stats. But if I ever,
it's a good one to have, though.
Yes, definitely. I mean, anything that Michael has done, I'm very happy to take anything. I'm very far from what he has achieved, but it definitely feels good to be on a 4th consecutive pole. The car felt good. I think we did a great job to anticipating the evolution of the track, and car came together, and the lap then in Q3 was great, apart from turn 16 and the second to last corner where I lost a little bit the rear, but overall was a great lap.
Talk about the rear, but it's at the front that the car looks so different over the last 2 weekends. How much of a difference have you noticed? How much more sort of consistency and dependability do you have on a car that you can turn it in and put it where you want?
Well, I think that's where we have been struggling especially myself. I've been struggling quite a lot at the beginning of the season with a lot of understeer. That's not how I like the cars to be. So we've been working like this, and in Formula 1, it's not from one day to another that you can change the car. So we've made some positive steps, I think, since the beginning of the season, and it's coming together. I'm very happy with the car at the moment, and it seems to pay off on track, so I'm very happy.
Ironically, though, pole's a tough place to be tomorrow. Big slipstream down to that first corner, particularly for the guy over there, starting P3.
Yes, well, I mean, if it's only Seb, then it's fine because we're in the same team. But yeah, I mean, all the other 18 cars will have quite a big slipstream, so it's not going to be easy. But yeah, I'll just do my best.
So that is your lot from Paddock Pass, and that is how the grid was set here in Russia. Can Ferrari make it 4 wins in a row? Lock out the entirety of September? That would be some feat. It's interesting to note that Charles Leclerc had really struggled with his qualifying up to Canada, but then changed his whole approach to how he was going into Q3. And since then, since he noted to us that he's changed his approach, he's 9-0 against Vettel. He's not been out-qualified. And that, I think, shows just that little switch that went in Charles's head. And now that he's got the car underneath him, now him and Seb have got that car underneath him, that we know it's fast in a straight line, but it's great in the corners too. And with that confidence that a couple of Grand Prix wins has brought him, it's all starting to come together for Charles Leclerc, for Sebastian Vettel. And Mercedes are on the back foot. Toto Wolff admitting this weekend they hadn't developed their car as much and as quickly and as well as they should. They are on the back foot. Red Bull are coming on fast and strong as well and should look competitive in the race tomorrow. They probably won't be fighting for a podium because of that grid penalty. But can anybody stop Ferrari? It's going to be a great run down to turn 1. So much slipstreaming, so much can happen. Looking forward to the contest, looking forward to the race as Ferrari look to make it 4 wins in a row to back up 4 poles in a row.